my name is Ella, I'm 18 years old, and I'm on the autism spectrum as I was diagnosed with Aspergers Syndrome at a very young age. By making this video, I am hoping to kind of clarify and expand minds when it comes to Asperger's, and those who have Asperger's, those who have children with Asperger's, those who are teaching students with Asperger's. I'm just kind of trying to give a bit of insight on what it's like to actually be at younger stages in life, not knowing how to cope with your brain. I would like to take this moment to stress that I'm not a medical professional. I don't work in this area at all. These are just my thoughts, opinions and experiences, no one else's. And yeah, let's get into it. I was thinking to myself only a few days ago now, after having a small conversation with a friend about Asperger's, and I started thinking about what Asperger's is to medical professionals who study it from a scientific point of view, who look at brain function, alertness, concentration levels, and even hormone balance. And then I thought about what it's like to educators, teachers, principals, special ed teachers who often have to blindly tailor the way that they teach to accomplish something with their struggling students. And then I thought about what it's like for parents who have young children. I'm talking like 5 and up, who have children 5 and up with Asperger's and who must constantly feel like they are trapped in a never-ending bad day at some point. I was diagnosed with Aspergers Syndrome at a very young age. I didn't even really understand what it was, and so I completely disregarded it. That's how young I was. I can't tell you exactly how young I was. I don't remember. However, back then we lived in a very, very small town. There wasn't a big, there wasn't as much awareness about autism, high-functioning autism and Asperger's in particular, as there is now. I think that people who are disconnected from autism hear about autism and they think it's just, one condition with one set of sort of rules about it. But what they don't understand is that autism comes in so many different shapes and forms and sizes that it isn't just that, it's so much more. I spoke to some friends about what they thought autism was before I met them, and their response wasn't shocking at all because I'd heard it all before. The response I received was people with autism can't look other people in the eye and everything freaks them out. Everything. Sounds, touch, everything freaks them out. They can't go outside, they can't have friends, they don't like to be talked to, it's just a bunch of, to be fair, very ridiculous things. I like to be talked to, so to hear that the general knowledge on autism and people with autism, children with autism, is don't socialise with them. They don't like it, they don't want to be socialised, they don't want to be loved, they don't want to be treated with affection, they don't want to learn, they can't learn. It was baffling to me, but not, like I said, not shocking at all. I've heard it all before. However, I did ask my friends about high-functioning autism, mainly my autism, and people who are like me. What I was told was people with high-functioning autism are passable and normal. And I love that. I love hearing that because it's so funny. If you spoke to me in the street and we had a long conversation about whatever, you wouldn't automatically know that I have autism, that I'm on the spectrum. You wouldn't automatically know that I don't like my hair being touched. It freaks me out. It makes my skin crawl. I hate it. I've hated it since I was a young child. Brushing my hair was it was a battle. You wouldn't automatically know that I have immense difficulty empathising with others. I have kind of learned that if I mention a sad news story that has been on TV in the recent days, that I can strike up conversation on that and sort of give a faux empathetic sort of take on the situation. And that way people think that, maybe I actually do have emotional connections to other human beings in the world. By talking to me on the street and having a conversation with me, among those things, you wouldn't know that doing any kind of simple math will eventually bring me to tears. You wouldn't know that I've had years and years and years through my childhood of varying therapies to help me learn how to interact with people, to learn what is socially acceptable, what is not socially acceptable. You wouldn't know that as my comfort, as my coping mechanism, since I was 18 months old, I have carried a feather, a regular craft feather, everywhere I go, for years. Just like regular craft feathers. Like I said, done it since I was 18 months old, and I now can cope leaving the house without one. Some days I do forget, or I think that I've got one in my pocket, but I don't. And as stressful as finding that out the hard way is, I can cope. Even when I'm trying to go to sleep at night, I do have one with me because I like the feeling. One boy had a pocket full of rusty nails and bolts, and he would just hold them in his fingers and roll them in his hand and his palm to feel the texture because it made him calm. And after that, I didn't feel so bad about it anymore. I will admit it is hard to explain to people my age, as I'm an adult now, that it's not just a case of the baby doesn't want to give up its dummy. It is something that I probably will have for the rest of my life. I'm noticing this video is getting a little bit long, so I will leave you with what I sort of thought, what my mentality was when I was a young child in primary school. Basically, it was horribly degrading not being able to do what the other kids were doing, watching them progress and myself being left behind. It was horrible to not be able to word it right, to not be able to express how I felt, what I was struggling with, what kind of help I needed, what kind of support I would have really liked. And I'm mainly talking about my struggle with math. Everything else I was kind of, just cruising by on, but with my math, it was horrible. And one thing that my educators got wrong, and they still continue to get wrong to this day, is they don't notice Aspergers for Aspergers. Because we're high functioning, we're often like other children, we're like other people, we're passable, we're normal, but we have immense struggles too. We do have the characteristics of Asperger's. We weren't diagnosed for a laugh, and teachers kind of forget that. I'm not saying all teachers. Some teachers I had were absolutely brilliant in the way that they taught me, and I excelled with their support, but a lot of other ones see the struggle, but they confuse it with defiance, and they punish instead of support. And I can remember being in detention for talking through my math classes in high school because I couldn't do the math. I couldn't. And instead of my teacher coming over and asking me if I needed any help, they sent me to what the other students referred to as the dumb class. Of course, it's not true. It's just sort of separation. But being separated from the smart kids and being labelled as one of the dumb kids in that area is degrading for anyone in that situation. And like I said, it wasn't that I didn't want to do the math. If I could do math, my life would be that much easier, and I would have done it. When it came to math, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And so I'm kind of leaving a message with teachers here and even parents. Just because your child is struggling with one subject, or maybe even 2 subjects, 3 subjects, it's probably not because they don't want to do it. or they're acting out, or they're defying the teachers because they don't like the teachers, it's probably because they can't do it. Their brain is not bending that way. And, you know, what happens when you bend something that isn't meant to bend? It snaps. I ended up snapping quite a few times under the pressure. So my advice in that regard is don't push something that doesn't fit, you know? So I'll end on that note. I hope that this has kind of cleared up what it's like to have Asperger's, what it's really like from someone who has it. I've grown up with it, and I'm going to die with it. And, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Share this video around to people you know who have children with Asperger's, who have students with Asperger's, and who maybe even have just found out that they've got Asperger's themselves. I'll leave some links to autism awareness sites, Asperger's specifically, and I hope that you've kind of enjoyed my rambling, and I'm going to just say goodbye now.